The HTML DOM. DOM stands for Document Object Model. What exactly is Document Object Model? The HTML DOM, HTML Document Object Model, is an object model for HTML documents. You realize that often in our code, we make calls or references to different tags or elements in our code in order to perform a specific actions per time. Now, each of these elements or tag that we do make reference to has a way of being represented in the browser that makes it possible to be able to interact with them. And that exactly is what the document object model is. This document object model is something like a tree representation in our browser of choice. So let me pull up my browser and show us what this looks like. So, okay, I'll right click here and click on inspect. Now, just take a look at this. Now, if you look at what we have here, now you can see this doc type, which is coming from here. You can see it. The HTML language, which is coming from here. Now, you can see this head section now. If I tap on it, you will see that it contains the meta charset, the name, and some other things like the title and the link to the style sheet. Now, if I tap on the body now, you will see what I'm talking about better now. You will see that inside body, we have an header. If you tap on the header, it will open. And then you will see something else like a div. If you tap on it, you will see another one. Now, you can see that this thing begins to form like a tree. So these are called nodes in the browser. So each of these elements or tag that we have here on the code editor is represented like in a form of a tree in the browser. So all these things makes them available to be able to interact with them here in the code editor. For example, now, if I want to use a property or a method on each of them, once I reference the DOM, then I can easily interact with an element or a tag that I want to talk to. Now, if you look at the diagram here on the screen, now you can see that the head of everything that you have in the browser is referred to as a document. For example, if you have something like index.html, that index.html is either you either refers to it as a file or a document. So it's like a casing or a body, or let me call it something that contains like a container that contains other elements. So that is what the document does, and it's always at the top level. And then you will see that when you want to work in HTML, you usually reference the HTML tag by opening an HTML tag and also closing an HTML tag, which is exactly what you can see here. You can see my opening HTML tag here and my closing HTML tag. Should be somewhere around here. Sorry, at the foot of my code. So it should always be the last thing. It's always the last thing on the page. Then inside that root element, you will see that it will now contain different things. For example, look at this now. You can see that it contains head, it contains body, it contains main, it contains section, and it contains footer, and even script where you can write JavaScript code inline. And so look at this now. You can see that these are elements, all these ones are contained inside the root element, the HTML, and the HTML itself is contained inside the document. For example, you can see the body, you can see head, and even inside head itself contains other things like the title. Now, the body can contain things like H1, href, paragraph, div, section, and a lot of other things. You can see H1 can contain a text, my header, the title can contain my title. So this is how each of the elements and tags that you normally do work with are represented in the DOM, the document object model. So the document object model again is an object model for HTML document. The HTML DOM is a tree of nodes. Like I said, you can see that the more you begin to click on each of it, you begin to give a shape like a tree. So it's a tree of nodes that represent an HTML page. And you can see that each of these elements and whatever you can see here, they are all contained inside the root element, and each of them is referred to as an element node. So for example, this is an element, body tag, head tag, and this one that contains text are referred to as the text node. The document itself is the owner of all nodes in the document. So this contains everything, every other thing that is contained in the document. Now, let's talk about how you can access HTML elements. Now, I already said that the DOM can be used to access HTML elements. And the most common way to access an HTML element is to use the ID of the element. So let's take a look at a quick example here. Now, if you come into the script tag here, and I have something like this. A paragraph that I want to interact with, and I say document. Now, this document, I'm referring to the DOM here. Don't forget that it's the container of all other elements, and I want to get an element by ID. Now, which element do I want to get by ID? If you look at what I have here, is there any ID? Yes, there's one ID here. If you can see this clearly, I have class, and then this is one here. You can see here, this is an ID that I can easily get. And how do you pick an ID? That with a small single quote or double quote. You can use the name to pick it. And then once you pick it like this, then whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it with it. Now, I want to change the content of this now. So I'll just pick my variable name. Then I will use the inner.html in order to pick that particular element from the DOM and then change the content to something like this. Hello world. I want a caps. Hello world. And now I can use the document dot. Oh, sorry, I don't even need this anymore. Sorry. Now you can see that right here on my screen, because I already have the document of get element by ID here. You can see hello world. So I can do anything, hello Lagos. Then it is continue to change the text this way. So we can use the document and combine with the element ID to get the ID of an element. And it is the most common way to access an HTML element. So the get element by ID method, this is used to find an element. And this ID demo is an HTML property. This get element by ID is a DOM method. And this inner HTML is a DOM property, which means that each of these will interact with whatever element that is contained in your DOM and allow you to manipulate it to whatever it is that you want in your code.